TillTalk, conversations about soil tillage and crops.
This week on TillTalk, the guys will be discussing tillage systems.
Hey there guys, welcome back to TillTalk. This week we have Wesley Wright with us here, and he's going to be discussing different types of tillage systems with us. So Wes, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Sure, Rob. I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania in a little county called Greene County. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I grew up on a forage-based farm, roughly 450 to 500 acres. I attended Penn State University from 2010 to 2014. I graduated with a major in agricultural science, a minor in agronomy, and a concentration in soil science. I was very interested in the different types of tillage systems that are out there, which is how I got to where I am today.
All right, well, it's good to have you here today, Wes. So I know a lot of our viewers have been wondering about different types of tillage systems and which ones are better, not only in terms of production, but also in terms of sustainability. Can you give us a little overview of the different types of tillage systems that are out there?
Well, Rob, I'd be here for days if I discussed all the tillage systems out there. There's three main ones that I believe to be the most prevalent, and I'll give you a quick overview of them. The first one is conventional tillage. It's done with a moldboard plow. It's completely inverting the soil. It's categorized by leaving 15% or less of crop residue on the soil surface. Then you have conservation tillage. It's generally done with a chisel plow or something of that nature. It's categorized by leaving 30% or more of the crop residue on the soil surface. And then the one that's really coming up through the ranks right now, that's gaining a lot of credit, is no-till. So it minimally disturbs the soil. You come in with a burn-down herbicide, take your existing crop off, plant through it. I mean, there's very little disturbance except for where the colders hit like this. Split the soil open and drop the seed in.
Alrighty. Well, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back right after this.
John Deere, the best tractor ever.
Alright, welcome back, guys. Also with us today we have Spring Yang, a farmer from Center County, Pennsylvania, who has a 450-acre grain farm, and he's primarily based upon conventional tillage system, and he's tossing around the idea of going to no-till. So Spring Yang, can you tell us a little bit why you're thinking about going to no-till?
Yeah, sure. So a few of my close friends have made the transition to no-till system, but they haven't given me many valid reasons for why I should transition. So I don't have much knowledge about no-till. I've just heard it saves money and is better for the environment. I'm here today to get some more information about it. So why is no-till really a better practice?
Well, Spring, from a conservation standpoint, it's far superior to a conventional tillage system. You get little to no soil erosion because you don't do any tillage. You do just a wee little bit where the colders cut the ground and put the seed in, and then it covers it back up with a packing wheel. In a tillage-based system, you get a lot of nutrient leaching. You have periods in time where the soil doesn't have any type of plant growth on it. So if you get a hard rain, you get a lot of erosion of the soil itself, but you also get leaching of, like, say, nitrates, phosphorus, because it's bound very tightly to soil particles, and then gets into your rivers and streams and lakes, causes eutrophication, which is algal blooms. So, and also tillage systems, they break down or disturb the soil microorganisms, I'll say, and no-till doesn't do that, because you're only putting a seed in, say, the deepest you'll get is probably 2 inches, like with no-till corn. So an example of like a microorganism would be fungal hyphae, which mycorrhizal, which infect plant roots. It's a symbiotic relationship with a lot of plants, actually, and so they infect the roots, and then the fungus gets nutrients from the plant, and then the plant gets nutrients from the fungus because it reaches out, branches out. It's a bigger network, bigger root system, brings in water, phosphorus, things that are kind of limiting, so the plant gets, a benefit as well. So then you also hit on another point, is it saves money, and it really does. You don't have near as many trips across the field. No-till, you come through with a burn-down herbicide, kill your existing cover crop or weed flush, whatever it is, and then you just plant right through it with a no-till drill. With conventional tillage, you come in with a primary tillage operation, like a moldboard plow or whatever it be, and it inverts the soil. And then you got to come through again with a secondary tillage system, like a disc or a spring tooth harrow, whatever. And you have to come through with, and then you have to come through with a culter mulcher or a culter packer and make a firm seed bed so you can plant into it. So it saves not only time, but it saves fuel, and you don't have to own as much equipment.
Well, Wes, I know you're saying that it's very environmentally friendly and stuff, but I have friends that are doing no-till systems, and you touched on it briefly about the herbicide use, and I know that they rely on herbicides and pesticides so much in no-till, and I'm kind of wondering if that's going to have an environmental impact in the future, because I know that already in southeastern Pennsylvania, there's resistant weeds and insects that are coming about. I don't know, could you give us any information about that?
Absolutely, Rob. I don't deal very much with the insect side of it, but with the weeds and everything, I see that a lot. And you're right, southeastern Pennsylvania has a big problem with Palmer amaranth, hairy gallant soga, glyphosate-resistant horseweed. I do see this as a problem, but I think education is the biggest key. We have to educate people that if you do have a spray system, we recommend that you change chemical families, you change site of actions, and modes of action. Modes of action are just how it works. Site of action is actually where the chemical reaction happens that kills the plant. Like if you spray glyphosate, which is Roundup, on a corn crop for 20 years, there's a weed out there, say breadroot pigweed. There may be one weed that has that ability to pop off the binding site, doesn't allow it to bind there, and then it sets seed, and now you have glyphosate-resistant pigweed. And we're seeing a lot of that right now. So you have to change site of action, modes of action, and chemical families, and spray at a last resort. Now in a no-till system, obviously you can't use tillage to kill your cover crops and everything, so you have to come through and use a cover crop, herbicide, but maybe look at different systems like the roll down method. They have big rollers. You come in, you roll your cover crop down, and then you plant through it, and it actually kills the cover crop. So it might be a thing to look at.
Good. I wish my friends were present to hear all this information. So Wes, what about all the crop residues you are left at the end of the season? I rely on plowing to bury and incorporate all the material. So could years of continuous no-till make a layer of residue on the surface so thick that I couldn't plant through it?
Spring, we haven't seen this being much of an issue, especially like if you have a very healthy soil. And a healthy soil, one key characteristic of it is you'll have a lot of earthworm activity. The earthworms actually, they incorporate the material. They come to the top, they feed on the crop residue, and then they incorporate it back into the soil. So a lot of times you don't see that. Now sometimes you probably can see that where it is really thick and you don't think that you can plant through it. Well, if that's the case, you can come in with a rotary cutter or a bush hog, whatever you want to say it is, and set it kind of low and chop up the crop residue. Now, don't come in, set it so low that you level all the bumps, because that's going to be very inefficient. So chop up the residue, and then also you have no-till drills that are actually very heavy. So you have a 12-row drill that's weighing 6,000 pounds, 3 tons, and they have places that you can hang suitcase weights and everything on them. And so I don't foresee it being a very big issue because the planters are heavy and they are able to get through the crop residue.
All right, guys, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you guys for coming out today and giving us all information I know is going to be useful for all of us in the future to come.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Rob.
All right.
I hope you all can join us next week for another exciting episode of TillTalk.
She calls me, the radio reminds me of my